All right, so real quick, we're going to jump into Gravit, and we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the real basics about opening and closing files, adjusting pages, things like that. So I've opened up my Gravit Designer. Once again, we're working on the trial version, not the pro version. Don't pay for anything. And I'm just going to go ahead and start from a basic. I'm going to grab paper size, and just for today, I'm going to grab a flyer, a little 5x7 inch flyer. So remember, these pages are the equivalent of an artboard in Adobe Illustrator, or if you're used to painting the real world, they're kind of like a canvas. Whatever you work on is only going to work on that artboard or that page. So these pages, once you've created one, over here on the right, when you've got it selected, it again gives you your options as to what you want to do to that. So maybe I decide I want to make this a 7x7 artboard. I can just click, type that. If I want to adjust it to a specific page size, so for example, I decide I don't need a postcard, I need normal US letter, which is 8.5x11 portrait style. There it is. So bleed and margin have to do with print settings, and for the purposes of our class, we don't have to worry about them because we're going to focus primarily on just the digital aspects today. And master, we'll get into a little bit later, where we can show you sort of how that gets duplicated across pages, and we'll show you that in just a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to sort of center that, and again, I press space bar, give me the hand, and then I can click and drag with the mouse. And I've got this one artboard, so if I were to, for example, grab a line, I could just draw a line, and there it is, things like that. That's great. But sometimes you want multiple pages or artboards to work on so that you can keep things separated from each other. So to do that, we're going to go over here to the left-hand side where it says Pages. And very simply, you can open it or close it using a little drop-down arrow. And I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side. It's got a picture of a piece of paper with a little plus, and if I put my mouse over it, it says Create Page. So I'm going to create a new page. Now, what happened? Well, my original artwork seemed to disappear, but what's happened is that it's opened a new page, and my original page is right here behind it. Now, that's one way to keep things completely separate, but you can also click on this button, and it puts your pages next to each other on the same canvas space. So you can work on one and then have the second one working right next to it. Pages can also be renamed. I double clicked, so I can say this is my left board and this one is my right board. Okay. And again, it gives you the chance to manipulate those separately. You notice their names appear right on there, so it's really easy to see which board is which. Now, the other thing you can do is you can lock a board. So if I lock that, it means if I come in, I can't grab this line, I can't manipulate it, can't do anything to it. So it's a good way to sort of keep things locked down if you're working over here on the right board and don't want to accidentally make a mistake and make an error on the left board or change something. So I'm going to unlock those again. So the next thing I want to talk about is this master. So what the master does is that it creates a master page that every other page or board copies to start off. So if I set the right board as a master, anything that gets set on it gets duplicated on the left board. This is really useful when you're creating, for example, a template, or for example, you're doing a series of flyers where you just have to change one or two little things. This way, if you have the master file set up, everything on your subsequent boards copies it, so you don't have to duplicate it over and over and over. But that's our pages and boards, and that's how we're going to sort of organize our artwork as we work through the class. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is how do we save and keep this stuff for ourselves with our Google Drive. So what I want you to get in the habit of is this. I want you to be able to go up to File, and eventually it'll drop down when I click it. We've been having some internet problems today, so that's just sort of life. All right, so we click File, drops down this menu, it gives you a whole bunch of different things. What I want you to get used to is this save, okay? So you can save it, it saves to your account on Gravit. Now, here's the problem with that. As a free account, you don't have very much in the way of storage space. So you have a very small amount. So we don't really want to get used to using this simply because you're going to run out of space real quick. What I do want you to do is this, download file. So when we download the file, you'll notice it has a Gravit design tag. And what I want you to do is be able to save this, for example, to your desktop. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to call this test file. So that saves that Gravit design to my desktop. And what's important now is that I can go open my Google Drive, which I'll do now. If I open my Google Drive and navigate to it, what we can do is actually create a storage space in our Google Drive. And this is something you are going to want to do to keep everything in one spot. So for example, once your drive is open and you've got access to it, you can simply go New, File, Upload. And from your desktop, you can locate that file. So in my case, we called it testfile.gvdesign. Hit open. And you'll notice it uploads that to my Google Drive, and I can save it there. And what's nice is once you've done that, you can go back later on, find that test file, right-click, and download that file. And once that file is downloaded and you go back to Gravit, you can go File, and then you can import or open local file. Okay? So you can download it back to your computer, hit open local file, and it lets you find that on your computer once you've downloaded or from your drive. Okay? So it's something that you can think about. We also have open from cloud, and this is where you save everything in your own Gravit cloud. So the big key here is to make sure that you have a method to save your files and manipulate them and keep track of them as you work through all of our projects this year. So be sure you know how to do that. Have a space in your Google Drive to save your files, and then make sure that you save them every day. Because remember, if you walk away from the computer, we can't guarantee that it's going to be there the next time you log in.